So, does M3GAN actually live up to the hype? So with a 94% on Rotten Tomatoes, M3GAN is taking everyone by surprise, but is it actually as good as the critics are saying? Me personally, I don't think so. M3GAN is the newest Universal and Blumhouse horror movie. It's also written by horror director icon James Wan.
That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
And going into this movie, all I really knew about it is that it was about a robot doll and the marketing was absolutely insane. But other than that, I really had no expectations going in. A few days ago, the Rotten Tomatoes score was released and it was like a 98% with like 40 critic reviews. And at the point of me recording this video, it's a 94% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is still insanely high. But nevertheless, before we get into all of my thoughts on M3GAN, as always, if you've seen or want to check out M3GAN, let me know what you think of it in the comments down below. But wasting more time, let's get right into it. Right out of the gate, I want to say, I think the concept for this movie is really cool, and I'm gonna be honest, even though I wasn't the biggest fan of this movie, I would still watch a sequel because in terms of absurdity, it's still really out there. And I won't lie, like, I enjoyed this movie, but it relies on absurdity more than anything else, and I'll go into more issues later on in this video, but absurdity is definitely at the forefront of that. I mean, it's just like an evil doll movie, right? But I feel like in terms of absurdity, another James Wan project that he was a big part of was *Malignant*, and that movie felt like it went all out on the absurdity, fully going into the rated R direction, and M3GAN really feels limited in its absurdity. It feels like it goes halfway there, but it can never fully take in what the movie was meant to be. And whether that be the people behind the movie, maybe they should have just let James Wan actually direct the movie instead of just make the story up for it, or maybe it was the R rating, who knows? But I will say, it just felt like this movie was really held back in the worst ways possible. Additionally, the performances for this movie are pretty mediocre. The lead actress, Allison Williams, was also in Get Out, and she was amazing in that movie. Even though she only had a little role in it, I'm still really surprised by how absolutely mediocre her performance was. And maybe other people liked her performance more than me, but I just never really had it click for me. And that was like the whole movie in general for me. Nothing ever really felt like it was actually happening, if that makes sense. I felt like I was just witnessing a movie and I didn't really feel anything. I didn't really understand anything. Well, I mean, I guess I understand the basic premise, but I didn't really understand, like, why is all of this happening? Like, this is kind of just, it all felt kind of dumb to me at the end of the day, and the performances really didn't help with that. I mean, I will say the child actress, she was good for her role in the movie, but she really didn't have much to do in terms of story. Like, she was the main catalyst for moving everything forward, but other than that, she really didn't do much. Again, this movie just didn't really click for me, and I think it's also because the writing is just average at best. I mean, it's a funny movie, but not in really like a good way. I laughed more than I actually like jumped out of my seat or yelped or anything like that. But even when I was laughing, I wasn't laughing like with the movie or the jokes that it was telling or moments it was actually trying to be funny. I was more or less laughing at the movie itself. Like, what the hell is happening? What's going on? Like, what are we doing here? And I will say I did the same thing to *Malignant*, but I also actually felt a sense of like, okay, I'm understanding what's happening here, and I like the twists and turns that you're giving to me. And I'm sorry about these comparisons to *Malignant* constantly, but it's just an inherent comparison. Right when I think about this movie, I think about what's 10 times better in it. I could go watch right now on HBO Max, *Malignant*. But it's not all bad, because I will say the CG in this movie is absolutely amazing. M3GAN's CG work, like making her look like a doll, and just the way that the eyes twitched and the lips moved and her body was functioning, especially throughout the very end of the movie when you get to, like, I'm without any spoilers, like a more raw and like movable version of this character when it's actually in action rather than just like walking around and doing basic moves, when the character actually has to do a lot more interesting and more like different and complex moves and stuff like that. The CG work is definitely super well done, and it's very noticeable how much work they actually put into it because it blends so well. You couldn't even tell, like, there's a lot of debates going on whether it's CG or whether it's just a person in costume, like makeup, or what the deal actually is with it. It is, I'm pretty sure, CG, and you could definitely tell that in the movie, but in a good way. And the final thing I want to talk about is the scares in this movie, because obviously it is primarily a horror movie, and yes, it was scary at times, but it was more scary in the sense that it was just jump scares scares. Like, it wasn't like good tension buildup or anything like that. And again, that's a problem I have with Malignant as well. Like, I mean, I was praising Malignant in comparison to M3GAN before, so I feel like they have some common negatives, so I should mention it at least. It relies on jump scares, and it's effective. It works. I mean, jump scares never not work. I mean, it's a jump scare. It's gonna scare you, but again, it never really does anything in terms of building it up. Again, it can't do much with the gore because it's only PG-13. Again, there's so many elements in this movie where it's like, if you took off this restriction and that restriction, this could be a really great movie in my opinion. At the end of the day, it just does a lot with a smaller budget, and I can totally respect that because M3GAN is fun in a lot of ways, but sadly, throughout the entirety of this runtime, I couldn't help but try and think of every single possible way it could have been better. My final score for M3GAN is a 6 out of 10. If you enjoy horror movies, I would definitely go check this one out. Don't let my review discourage you because obviously a lot of other people like it, but this is just my take on a new horror movie out. As always, again, form your own opinions on it. Go check this movie out for yourself and let me know what you think of it in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Peace.